Welcome to everybody here on the Fight Show. Today we have a special guest, and without taking this into any further ado, our objective is to make sure you understand that women pioneers exist on the highest of levels. Today is a pivotal moment because you are about to be introduced to one of the pioneers in women's athletics today. Bar none, today we welcome Lynn to the Fight Show, CEO and founder of Society 9.
More that there wasn't really anything in existence for women in boxing or in combat fitness in general. They would always complain about the big bubblegum pink gloves that wouldn't fit them, that were too big for their wrists, and they were basically like pillows on their hands. Society 9, the brand, the company is more than just me. The company would be absolutely nothing without the talent of my team. We have a combined experience working with some of the biggest sports brands in the world. So every product that you get to see, experience, feel, and train in has been developed with a lot of thought, a lot of sincerity, and a lot of care when it comes to the materials, the construction, how it looks, and how it feels. As a small but fast-growing company, we're constantly facing challenges, sometimes what feels like every day or even every hour. And the way that we solve these challenges is by listening to each other. Each one of them is an expert in different things, and that's what I love so much about my team. We all come to the table with different areas of expertise, and by coming together and sharing those ideas, someone might have a perspective that someone else didn't. That's what makes our team so powerful.
Here she is, I told you. Wow, that was
Yay.
How you doing once again, Lynn?
It's good to see you. Long time no see. All of about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, all about 5 minutes. We just had a little technical difficulty in this new age and era of broadcasting, and
yes.
But you know what? This is why innovators exist, because they overcome all hurdles.
That's right.
I cannot wait to really pluck you like a chicken with a lot of feathers and let people see the true DNA of what this is about. Let me explain a couple of things before we get going, Lynn.
Yeah.
First, there are hundreds of millions of women and men and people who are just kind of cut from the fiber of being an influencer. And an influencer you are. I don't want to, sugarcoat it, but it is what it is. What makes the fiber of you is that you're overcoming and you're leading and paving the way. So I just put it on the, well, you only try when you run into failures and you run into successes. So you don't stop there. So I just want you to know that the people that'll be watching, that you'll inspire, if only one person out of the thousands and thousands that'll watch, that if only one person is inspired, that triggers an entire downline of success. So thanks once again. And I can't wait for people to hear your story and all of the good stuff. So tell me what you've been doing. What's going on lately?
Yeah, well, I guess where do I even start? Because I was talking to another female founder recently, and we were joking that 2021 is really just 2020 plus one. Like, things haven't changed.
No,
really.
No.
It's been obviously a really challenging year. We're still coming off of a challenging year, but I think that the fact that as a small business, like, we're a team of 3, we're an operational team of 3, 4 contractors, so we're a team of 7. The fact that we've come through what was really just an awful year for most small businesses and are still here, just finishing February, and it's pretty incredible, and I don't take that for granted, but it also can just be as quickly taken away, which is why we focus so much on community and what our customers want, what our community wants, how they feel connecting with us. Like, I think that's probably the biggest thing that we think about most, is just like what is the best way to engage with our community that's beyond just product and selling product, because I don't think as a brand it's enough to just say buy our stuff, right? It's never enough. And I think what I've learned the last couple of years with Society 9 is just that the people that we serve, they box for a bigger reason. I mean, of course, it starts with fitness. It starts with wanting to challenge yourself. I call those like the introductory levels. But I often find that there's a much deeper spiritual and mental connection to why they do it. And that's really what we ultimately focus ourselves on, is that connection.
Well, everyone will look and they'll question, all right, what's the fiber? Who's the individual? Because people know I have only significant people and figures on the show, and they are very, very intrigued with the individuals. So what I wanted to do is to kick it back. You know, if you got a little hot something sipping on over there, enjoy it. And I want you to just simply take us back to where this began, how you got it going. And that is what I think will give people clarity as to who you are, the fiber in which the brand is built on, because you have a brand. And so many people wake up every day and they edify the brand because they understand significant people when they meet them. So they roll up under you. We experience the same thing at Master Boxing. We set a brand. So take us back to the very, very beginning, before Society 9 was even spelled on paper. Where did this idea come from? And go into it in detail. Take as much time as you want. You only have 30 seconds. No, I'm joking.
I've practiced my story and my pitch enough times. I could probably tell it, the important bits in 30 seconds. But
talk to them. Tell them, because this is what they're here to listen to.
Well, I guess I'll take it way, way back.
Yeah,
way back. So I'm Vietnamese American. I grew up scrappy. You know, my parents. My parents immigrate. Well, they didn't immigrate. They escaped. I always have to make that clarification, because immigration. Yeah, they escaped Vietnam right after the war. And I was born in the United States, but Vietnamese was my first language. And we didn't grow up with a lot, and also not around a whole lot of diversity. And so it was, I think the scrappy bit that I referred to was instilled obviously at a very young age. And also just this feeling of constantly being different in my own community. And, you know, after I graduated college, my sister and I were the first to graduate from college. So also a big deal. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do career-wise. I mean, I was working full-time jobs. I was very fortunate to have full-time jobs graduating, but I was really passionate about, in particular at the time, Krav Maga. And I discovered Krav Maga because I went on a school trip to Israel through my university, and I discovered it. And it was the first time that I ever felt like I was a powerful woman. It was the first time I threw a punch. I like to describe it as a spiritual awakening, you know? And I didn't start Krav Maga because I wanted to be a professional fighter, because I wanted to anything. It was just, it was because I liked running. I wanted a new challenge. And then I learned Krav Maga for the first time, and it just totally changed my life. And so fast forward, I got my brown belt. And then I also started teaching kickboxing in particular. And it was in that capacity that I realized a problem that was presented to me by my students who would end up being my customers, because a lot of my students were women who would take the class. And they would always ask me, where could they find good gloves? Because of course there's a ton of options out there, but the more frequently I was hearing feedback and comments around, oh, I have to double wrap my hands to get my hands to fit, or like I can't close my fist very well inside the gloves. So when I punch, it feels like it hurts because it's, you know, it's basically doing this, right? Just a lot of injury risk. And for me, I'm 4'11", I have super small hands, and sometimes I would have to double wrap my hands just to like feel like I could get a good grip on the inside of my own gloves. And so many of the women said, I can't find anything other than, you know, the bubblegum pink gloves that are marketed to women. So I started realizing, well, like this is a really fast growing emerging market, like women who do boxing. I'm sure you've seen it. You've been in the game a long time. And I was like, there really isn't any options that are really catered to the woman, asking her the questions, asking her about her needs. So this was back in 2014. Started developing a prototype by getting the height, weight, and hand measurements.
Hold up. Let me I'm gonna intercede a second, because did you naturally have that ability to like creating or design? Did you have anything in your background that alluded to that, or did you just say something needs to be done?
Well, I think it was a mix of both. So I'm personally not a designer, but at the time I was working in a job doing retail design, like spatial design for Nike.
Yeah.
And we're based in Portland, Oregon. I'm sitting in our office right now. And being in Portland, the beauty is networking, right? We have, I'm several degrees separation in some capacity with like someone who's a product designer or just like whatever. So I was able to find a couple people with more experience designing than me to take that information from the focus group to actually start developing the glove. And that's how that whole process started. And I was still working a full-time job. And at a certain point, I decided to quit my full-time job to pursue Society 9 full-time. That was in August 2014. I sold all my stuff. And I like literally sold all my stuff. All I had was like a mattress, no box spring. I had basically like a big like storage tub that like I used as like my desktop. I had my clothes, like basically everything that could fit in a Honda CRV. And I basically started the company at that point. And we launched through Kickstarter. That was how we got the company off the ground initially, was through Kickstarter in 2015. Yeah. And then
so how was that experience doing that? Who gave you the insight that, you know, Kickstarter is a thing, or were you aware of Kickstarter before that?
I knew of Kickstarter, but I also knew that I had to do it because there was no, I mean, I don't have like
money like that.
I don't have a trust fund. I was not bankable, right? Like I graduated college with student loans and no assets to my name other than my car. So I'm not, I think, and we can go on to a whole conversation about access to capital for entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah, that's the
color. Entrepreneurs of color or you know, women, minority entrepreneurs. We can go on and on about that. That's a whole other episode, I think.
That's an entire different beast.
Yes, but so I knew that I had to get customers somehow, or like I knew there was a market. I had to prove it. And I felt like the best way to prove it was through Kickstarter. And so we raised over 60,000 on Kickstarter. And that's what helped to launch the brand. And I've been very fortunate that been doing it full time now for, you know, since that point.
It's been a very, you know, I'm sure you've learned a lot of just things that the questions that people would have that are watching would just, I don't know, not understand how to even begin a Kickstarter and how does that all work? Could you give them, the audience who will be watching this, idea of kind of what Monday through Friday looked like when the first week you were building a Kickstarter, so they just get a kind of understanding of how that works? I mean, there'll be a lot of people watching, they won't have an idea, they've heard the phrase, but they just don't know. What did you actually have to do to get that going?
Well, so I quit my full-time job August 2014, and then from that point on, everything that I did was focused on getting the Kickstarter launch. So like, people have to understand, when you launch something like Kickstarter, you don't just like throw it up and set it and forget it. It's like a Tamagotchi. You have to keep feeding it. You have to keep tending to it, or else it dies. So a lot of the prep work leading up to the launch was everything from press outreach to building community engagement, like connecting with future potential brand ambassadors, meeting with different gyms, getting their feedback on the prototype so that they're aware, like, that we're launching this Kickstarter. They can share it with their female members, you know, like just community cultivation, which all took time.
Building the name, building the fiber.
Exactly. Building the DNA, building the fiber. And not only that, but separate from the community building side, then there was also just the asset creation. Had to create the promotion video, the visual assets, like the photography, the campaign page, like the way it's written, production timeline. We make products, so just getting production timeline square with manufacturer. All that was basically created prior to even launching the company. So,
And I must say, the gear itself, and this is why I wanted to do a pre-recording, is because I want people to see it. I want them to take time, as we have some amazing stuff that our team has cultivated for you as overlays, so people will be able to really understand the fiber of this brand. It is smoking hot. And I reached out. Yeah. I don't know if you watched the UFC, but Dustin Poirier's coach, Daya Davis, was on. I was down in South Florida last week with him. So I messaged him on Instagram and let him know that, you know, I'd have him on the show, I was going to have you on the show, and that the people that come to his gym would really benefit. And, you know, fortunately, when I heard him kick back, he was like, yeah, some of the ladies that actually come wear those gloves, man. And the young lady's absolutely super smart. So,
oh, that's very sweet.
But, you know, that's your brand, you know, piercing and permeating through the market. And it's just it's so swagalicious when you see it. It's just kind of what you think of when you see really elite level urban taste, but at the same time, it just really has its own category. And, you know, you can see that in a Lululemon store. It's just, you know, you've done a great job with the look.
Thank you.
I told you a while back, and I told Stacy, you know, us men are so unlucky when it comes to the design aspect of the glove, because the glove that you made fit some of the guys that I work with. I told you I had the CEO of Caterpillar. He was vying for you to create a male line because he loved those gloves.
Thank you.
I'm going to give people an idea, a visual of how cool this, you know, this is cool stuff, man. And
thank you.
Oh yeah, those black ones are hot.
Yeah.
Sponsor us a pair of them so we can put them. Yeah, nah. Well, what we're gonna do on the show? No, totally. What I'm gonna do with the show is, we're not just, you know, passing notes through Messenger on Facebook. You know, we're gonna do a piece so people will really say, "Oh yeah," and that audience really will get a second, you know, bird's eye view of the product and the line. And I only, like I said, I know how tough it is to make it and improve your brand and your fiber. And when I saw you, you know, go about the way you operated, I know that you had it, and then it shows through your gear, and it shows through the apparel, those gloves, and I saw the shin guards, I saw the whole thing. So I'm gonna love doing this production, having this thing done in a way. Tomorrow it'll air at 6 p.m. and after the weigh-in, so it'll be a lot of buzz and it'll be awesome. But I love that swagger and the guys who had an opportunity to be mad at you for not making a male's line. They literally were. But
listen, they can rock it. Listen, if they rock our stuff, all they're saying is like, I mess with you, you know? So like,
but you know what? Could you say it's unisex though? Really? I mean, because absolutely. They really fit well.
This is when we designed the glove, we designed it intentionally, like starting with women first, but that doesn't mean that men can't wear it. I think just to challenge this whole gendering thing for a second, right? It's like, as women, we've been wearing like unisex products, or, you know, what is really like male stuff, because a lot of brands started with the male athlete first. And that's okay. Like that, but that's also just the reality, which, so for women, what I saw was an opportunity was that rarely were women asked first, right? Rarely were they asked first, hey, what are your needs? And then branching out from there. So the fact that men are like, you know what, I mess with that glove. Like, I like that glove.
No, it's dope.
It's regardless of gender, that's exactly what women have been living with for years, for decades, which is like, we made do with what was on the market, which historically started with a male customer, right? And that's not me hating on men. That's not me. I'm just being realistic.
No, it's just the reality.
Yeah. So I think, absolutely. Like, y'all can totally mess with that.
Well, I've rocked them. I've rocked them, but you know, I didn't have the official black one. So maybe you can send some of those, and I can do some, because I got this new.
I know a person.
Yeah, I got it. Cool. But I'm actually releasing a new program, and I can't say the name and everything, and I'm not even talking about it. But this part will be cut out of the show too. But when I release, I love to rock them during the shoot. and it's going to be a powerful system. So you'll see it all over the game, and we're going to rock it. And so I definitely will wear them. I saw Amanda Nunez with yours on, and we were down in Coconut Creek at American Top Team and stuff. So, I mean, just to see the level that your glove have made it, I've seen it on, some of the countdowns for the UFC and a little boxing as well, but it's just very powerful to see it. And what I want to do is, what was your motivation? Was it the fact that you're female and the male industry has been leaning towards, because it's all about the numbers. If women were buying a lot of combat stuff in the 90s and 2000s early, they would have segued, just like the fitness market. The female models make more. So males are feeling sour about that. But I'm like, females look better. What do you think? I mean, they make more money. Giselle, Tom Brady's wife, she's killing it. I mean, but what you're doing is kind of allowing the markets to catch up. And this is what I was saying about a pivotal moment in time. You're pivoting the market now that it'll eventually be more women based and influenced. And that's a powerful thing. And in a couple of minutes after you answer that question, I'm going to bring in one of my co-hosts and let her tell you a story about the glove situation. And it's going to really land well. So, but back to the question, what or who was your motivation to hurdle over this triumph for women?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, so I looked at this question in like two ways. I think the first part of it is like, yes, like on a very practical level as an instructor, the problem was presented to me, right? Like by my students asking the question, my female students constantly asking the question. Yeah. So that's the literal side of seeing it right in On the other side, I was seeing at the time, because again, this was 2013, 2014, which feels like an eternity ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. What I was seeing was that specifically for women's boxing, women's MMA, women's fitness, like women's boxing fitness, which is also its own category. What I was seeing was that there was no sense of appreciation for the inherent femininity of women, but also the inherent toughness. Yes. It was either you had to be really tough and hard and bloodthirsty and or you were like super girly, like the just straight pink, right? And I'm not shaming the pink either, but what there's no middle for what the modern woman is. The modern woman is feminine, but she's not precious. And that's a very, very fine middle. I can't claim to say that we're perfect at it, but I think that's the one thing we think about with our product design, the way we message our brand. It's why people like yesterday, I just saw, blessed, but Clarissa Shields was wearing our gloves in the middle of a training session, I can't really refute that. Like, one of the hardest punchers in the world, male or female, wearing our stuff. Like I can't be more grateful than that validation. And that's not a paid sponsorship. She's bought product from us. And so I think it's just a testimony to not just our product, yes, that I'm really proud of, but I think more importantly, like my mission when I started the company was always to create something that was accessible, that said, this is a product that I feel comfortable giving to a world champion just as much as if you're throwing a punch for the first time. So whether you're 18 years old or 75 years old, like I just want you to feel like you have a great tool that feels great, makes you feel like a badass, and enables you to uncover your power, whatever that looks like. And I think,
No, you can finish that thought. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. That was the thought. It was just like, I wanted to make sure all those women felt that way.
When you set out to do it, did you really think, or did you foresee people at the level of Clarissa Shields and Amanda Nunez using it, or is that like always a pleasant surprise?
I'll be honest, it's always a pleasant surprise just because, I know that every pro fighter wears like Winning Japan, which is like a $300-400 glove, right? It's a great glove. It's beautiful product. I will tell you that as someone who makes product, you're paying for the branding, really.
You're paying for the brand.
Yeah. No shade at all to
No, that's what it is.
but it is like brand. So when we started developing the glove, I had to really make a choice of like, do I set a price arbitrarily to say, yeah, pay me $150 for this glove just because? Or do I make a glove where I say, yes, we're a business, we do need to make money, but also make a product that is like quality that we stand for? Yes, respectable.
It's quality. It's Apple.
And achieves the objective. Makes the woman or the customer feel great while using them, and also feels like it's an accessible premium price, because I just don't fundamentally, I mean, again, this is a conversation I could go into a deep rabbit hole, but
you'll get another chance. You'll get a chance one day to do the episode 2. You know, it's a series because there's so many layers to this thing.
There is, and I think a lot about accessibility. I think about that, especially in communities that don't have access to sport, that don't have access to quality products, that, you know, and so we wanted to set a price that said someone could legitimately save up to buy this glove, and they would be proud to have saved up to buy this glove, just as much as the woman who can afford it and lives in, you know, upper Manhattan and can afford to buy anything.
It's just like the iPhone. People, it's a statement. You got the iMac, you got the MacBook Pro, you got the whole Apple's Savage package. It's the same thing. It's a certain cachet that comes along with it. And your brand. And I remember you made more of a synthetic glove for people that's lower mark. It's okay to do something like that. But at the same time, you're like, but our power resides in the real stuff. So graduate from that one. And unless you're just doing fitness and you don't really have anything but your gear, man, I can't wait for people to see just the line. And I wish, and I know you don't have unisex gear, but you know what? Your stuff cuts for my body perfectly. I would be totally rocking Society 9. And the name is mad cool. And the name is mad cool. I love it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring in Haley. And Haley's going to tell you a story about one of her situations that happened. Hey, Haley.
Hey, what's up, Eric? Hi, Lynn. I'm so excited to meet you. I'm total fangirl out right now on what you're doing in this industry. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No doubt.
Little backstory about myself. My name is Haley Zale, and I'm a great niece of a middleweight champion of the world in 1940 to 48 by the name of Tony Zale. So boxing has always, he was a beast. Boxing has always been in my family. It's something that my dad coached me at the age of 15. He coached my brothers, and he was coached by our champion uncle. So my whole life, I've been immersed in this sport. It wasn't until Uncle Tony died in '97 that we put his championship belts on display at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, upstate in Canastota, New York. I'm in New York City right now. So I'm like, I saw some of your suppliers are in Brooklyn and downtown. So I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah.
So at a young age, at like 15, 16, I was hanging out with all of these retired boxers who've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, like my uncle was. And, you know, like rubbing elbows, not to name drop, but with like Joe Frazier. And I had part of Marvin Hagler's wedding cake. Like it was just this family that I was invited into because of the boxing royalty.
The lineage.
And the first in the lineage. And Eric always reminds me the boxing that I
boxing royalty. It's okay. It's boxing royalty, royal blood. You're supposed to be proud of that. Somebody
that's true.
Somebody bled a lot of blood for you to be able to do that. So that's just like Lynn Lee, anybody, all her family that's to come. I mean, she's bled a lot of blood.
You're paving the way for your next generation.
So
as well.
Take her to that story that you told me.
One time up at the Boxing Hall of Fame, we'd go every year for these induction ceremonies. And I met Elvis Grant of Grant Gloves. And it was pretty awesome to get to know him and understand how his concept came to form. And then it was talked about in the Creed movie with Sylvester Stallone. So I was always paying attention to Grant Gloves. Fast forward to like 2016, I'm at BB King's for a club show, and there was some female fighters on the undercard, and behind me was sitting Shelly Vincent, Shalito's Way out of Connecticut. She fights a lot at Foxwoods.
Yeah.
So we got to talking, and then Heather Hardy was like just in front of me. So I ended up being in the middle between Heather Hardy and Shelley Vincent, like talking shit for these cameras that were right there in our faces.
They were not friends. That's yeah.
Exactly. So their
friends.
upcoming fight, they were sort of prepping for that. And Shelley reached out to me on Instagram, and she said, she slid into my DMs and was like, I know you know Elvis. Would you ask him if he'd be willing to sponsor some Grant gloves for me? So right away, I went to Elvis, and again, this is 2016, so who knows if, what's changed since then. But
it's not that long ago, though.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, 5 years ago. We've come a long way, but we still have a way to go. So anyway, Elvis said to me, I'm sorry, Haley, but we don't sponsor female fighters.
Boom.
And I was pretty upset about that. I mean, I said respectfully, okay, thank you for letting me know. And then I had to go back to Shelley and say, I'm so sorry. And then we kind of went back and forth about the bull crap of the boxing world, not embracing female fighters, not paying them the same wages, not giving them the main event.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, and with your brand and making it accessible for women and non-intimidating for women, is something that we need. Like, we need you to keep this going and to provide a product that we can be proud of. So I thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You're gonna make me cry. I've had quite a last 2 weeks have been kind of rough, and like you're gonna make me cry because like seriously, I mean, like when I started the company, like I gotta tell you, like this isn't a sob story. This is just facts. Like I dealt with two sort of worlds. One is what I would call like the traditional old school world of boxing, MMA, whatever, which is that like, oh, what you're doing isn't legit, or like they would say to me, like Lynn, like, where's your pro fight record? What do you know about a good glove? Like you're not legit, right? Like I remember getting just like trolls and stuff in my like Instagram DMs or even email, just being like, your gloves are shit. Like you don't know anything because you're not a pro fighter. You don't know what it's like to be a fighter, blah, blah, blah. And
oh my God.
I think what I really struggled with that was that like they were completely discounting that everybody starts somewhere. And I think what I got most frustrated by is like the invalidation of I care less about like the invalidation of me. Like I can take a hit. Yeah, I can take a hit, like literally and figuratively. Yeah. But the issue more was just the demeaning of saying like you're not legit, or the brand's not legit, and therefore the customers who are paying you are not legit because they're not a part of the sport. They're not a part of the world.
Ignore that. Tune that out. That is not constructive criticism. You said it yourself. You had Clarissa Shields, an Olympic gold medalist. She was twice. She was the very first female fighter to have the main event on Showtime. That is major that Clarissa believes in your product. Just keep going. Ignore that. Ignore what
Lynn,
saying.
You got to remember this. The people that make books don't write books. There has to be an inventor and a scientist behind every product. So just because you make books don't mean you write books, and you don't have to fight to create a glove. You're an inventor. Inventors are born because they have an expanded mind in areas of creativity. And that's where your work is. But if you did fight, you'd have been a badass, because there's levels to what God has made you to be. And it's obvious when Forbes has brought you in that you've done something and you have the fiber. So never, ever let that be your constant motivation and drive. And those same people will be trying to, you know what they're doing? They're still following you though.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all it is.
I mean, that double standard that's so frustrating is like, I'm not trying to liken myself to Phil Knight necessarily, but like Phil Knight was not a pro runner, right? Like what made Nike back in the day was people like Steve Prefontaine, who was a world-class runner. That's what made the Nike brand. That's like the origin, right? And no one's saying to Phil Knight, hey, where's your track and field record? Where's your,
Lynn, that is the total obvious response I didn't fight. I was a fighter, but I never fought.
Yeah.
And I'm the leading brand in combat sports across the board. I write programs. I've been in over 23, 24 world championship training camps as lead voice. All right. And no one can tell me what I'm not. You know, I'm DNA. But when people are telling you these things, those are kind of like the little soldiers of negative energy, but you learn how to channel it and be like, thanks for acknowledging me. Cause I would have never commented on your post because I don't think enough of you. So when you take the time to write on my posts, then that means you think enough of me. And why won't you, when I go to your profile, it has follow back? Why are you following me? But, you know, I know what it is. And I always give guys an opportunity to invite them into the square circle because, you know, I don't just talk about their life. I really am about their life. So never, ever fret. Let that energy come because there's no such thing as bad press. And what we're going to do with that, I have another sweet innovator coming in, and hey, I'm going to pull you down and bring in my girl Claudia Trejos from ESPN Deportes and The Zone. She is absolutely my fave. Coming in.
Well, I feel so privileged. I'm in good company, and I'm your favorite. Sorry for the moment. I'm in the middle of quarantine.
I know.
So
are you? Hey, I gotta ask you a question before I get going with you.
Yes.
Are you going to be down there doing the coverage and stuff of the Canelo fight? Because I got a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to need for you off camera. I'm not even going to put this on the show. That's why I wanted to do this offline because it edited all this stuff out. Jill from the WBC is helping out. She's trying, she's combing, but I know you're right there. So
for this fight?
Well, no, I scratched it out last night that I was going because it was spontaneous. But I promised everybody that we do a fight show Saturday night. Everybody gets to come live into this studio and watch the fight on my thing. I won't stream it because, of course, it's on The Zone. But, you know, we're having a contest and people can come in and watch. Are you going to the fight actually?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, good deal. Good deal.
I am the color commentator. So,
all right, beautiful.
You need to talk to the people from Matchroom, and then they have
me. Email introduce. Give me an email introduction.
Okay.
For me. And you talk to the person that's special at the hour. This is the hour of the women right here. Power hour.
But before we go any further, just be advised that right now you have to like get in the bubble.
Yeah.
And the bubble is like 3 days.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
responsibility. That's all I live by red tape. Every day. Look, it's levels.
Yeah.
And
so that's why I just got off my fighter meetings, and we're not even allowed to touch the fighters. And the press conference is like way out there, and we're over here. Tomorrow weigh-in is private.
Yeah.
So, and tomorrow, obviously, if you do have a press,
yes,
they're gonna ask you exactly what it is that you want to do, and then we'll figure it out.
Okay, sounds good. Well, this is my girl Lynn Lee. Lynn Lee, Society 9 in the building. Hey. And this is another, you know, Claudia has broken the barrier for many, many women in sports and journalism, writing, I mean, interviewing. She's just a sports figure. And I love having her on. Her energy is great. And she loves pounding me in the face. The girls love her on because she punches me in the face. So for that reason, every man likes his dimples punched. So
I can imagine.
It's for good luck.
I love it.
Yeah,
she does. But talk to her, Claudia. I know Claudia has just been doing some amazing things, and I love, like I said, you as far as the stuff. And Claudia, I told Lynn that I wanted to, you know, get some things for my shoot that I'm doing for our new program that'll be launching, and it's a launch, so you will see it everywhere. And it's been a campaign of building for about 6 months, so you know it's a monster. But I want to do some real good things. So any of those amazing women and stuff that you're in that circle, make sure that you know you can pass that word along with her gear, because she's just doing some amazing things.
And with that being said, I was listening a little bit to the frustration, and I got good news and I got bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?
Both.
You can listen. There's after surviving a year like last year, which is actually still technically going. Like, there's nothing that you can throw my way that I'm not scared of.
So you know what? There's no bad news because you're already prepared. The truth is, this is an uphill battle, and it's not because. And I'm going to say this loosely, but I'll button it up later. I honestly don't think that it has to do with the fact that you're a woman and that perhaps is a lot more difficult. It's because people don't know what to expect from a woman. So when your work speaks and speaks loud and it's consistent, whoever is giving you an A, good riddance. But those that do say yes, those are the real haymakers. Those are the movers and shakers of society. Those that, regardless of how good you are, how solid you are, how consistent you are still ragging on you. I say that from experience. Don't even worry about those. You know, there was somebody very smart said to me, those that care, don't worry about it. And those that don't care, don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not here to change anybody's mind. You're here to show what you're doing. You're not here to convert anybody. You're here to show options, opportunities. You're here to open the book to other probabilities. And those that don't want to see that opportunity, au revoir.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's a process.
Yeah.
And after 30 years, you know, Eric would tell you it's ongoing. It's every day. It's
every day.
You know.
She's overcome so many things. Like, and I've watched it from the beginning. Like this fiber, it's so funny seeing you all on the screen because I'm like, Claudia is a motivational speaker, right?
Yes.
And the people that she talks to, she usually has to talk people up. But see, Lynn doesn't need talking up. She just needs to know there are other people that experience what she experiences. So it makes it, you know, misery loves company. When you in those miserable moments, it's like, oh, you going through it too? It's good. So I let people always know that. That's why I put the significant people on the show. I pick up anybody if I want to. I make the people, you are the people need to know about. You are the ones that the people are usually in front already, like the big brands, the Adidas, the Nikes, the people that are in the big sportscasters, the Stephen A's and all of these people that are names out front. You're the fuel because they see y'all type coming. So that's what fuels them because y'all are at the top, operated. I've been at the top, living at the top. And when you see that person with those fibers coming, you got to get your game up. So, man, to have both of y'all sitting right here and Royal Blood down in the studio at the same time, this is the power hour. This is the most powerful hour that this show has had because sharing the screen is a lion, a King Kong, and a Godzilla all in one. So, you know, the world, you better watch out.
Myself a dragon. That's like, I'm into Game of Thrones.
The dragon. Okay.
Good. Good. And you know what? I heard you a little bit and I'm not harping on you. It's very easy when you're getting to a certain level of recognition to just harp on the frustrations. I'm going to just turn it around a tad bit because you're focusing perhaps on the things that are not happening. So I'm going to invite you to look at the things that are happening, the doors that are opening. And yes, I understand that, you know, at this point in time, when we're talking boxing gear, we're not talking about Everlast. We're not talking about Cleto Reyes. This is brand spanking new. But there was also space for winning. There was also space for no boxing, no life. And this is just I'd say the last decade. No Boxing, No Life was just started, what, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So this chapter of boxing history is so wide open that you have made your own incursion in that. You've participated in that change.
Yeah.
To give options. We need options.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I mean, like, I started the company when I was 25 and I did not know what I was doing. I arguably could say I still don't know what I'm doing. I learned. But I'm willing to learn. And I think that's why, you know, we've been around now for 5 years. You know, I've been so fortunate to be able to be doing this like full time, 5 years. And, you know, now we're entering our 6th. In those 5 years, we survived a pandemic, you know, like, you know, we have customers in Singapore and Dubai and Australia, you know, like, so I could never, 5 years ago, if you were asked me the same question of like, where do you think it's going to go? I mean, back then I would tell you, I have no freaking clue. Right now, I'd still tell you I have no freaking clue, but hey, like we've done a lot that I'm super proud of. And I wouldn't take any of it back, you know.
But I think Eric will agree with me. There's certain times in our lives that you just have to raise your hands and stay calm and let somebody else take over. And it's definitely none of us.
Yeah. And you know what's so powerful is that you've done the hardest thing that most people have to do. Because Claudia's just written a book, and I don't know what stage you are in it, but because what people automatically assume is when you're doing that stuff, it's already funded. But but
exactly.
see, Lynn, this is what Lynn did.
People don't understand how expensive it is.
Yeah, they have no expenses. I was just telling Jen, I say, hey, I spent just to have this show. I spent over $40,000 on the set of everything that's like, because I want people to know that I'm not fucking playing. Okay, there's levels to this shit
and maintenance of the equipment.
Yeah, and then so what I give you credit for is that you had the wherewithal. The first thing, there's 5 rules that you abide by, and you never forget this. If you want to be extremely successful at the top level, I'm talking Warren Buffett. The first thing you got to know is you must ask for the money, which you already have. And I forgot the other 4.
Yeah, no, the money thing is like, people don't realize like how much like sacrifice these things take, because they see the social media, they see the YouTube, whatever, the website. But like, I'll use an example. So like our shoe, it took us 2 years to develop a shoe designed with women in mind. The reason why was because like I'm a size 6.5 women's. Most of the boxing shoes on the market, you can't size down. Like a lot of the manufacturers start at a men's like 7. I can't size into that, or even a men's size 8. I can't size into that. So a lot of women I saw who couldn't fit into those shoes, they would either be wearing little kids wrestling shoes, or they just wouldn't wear the boxing shoes at all because they couldn't size into them. So so we started developing a boxing shoe that could, well, first of all, was sized on a women's size guide so that they didn't have to do the conversion anymore. Because like, why should you go shopping and say, oh, okay, I need to like find a different size guide so that I can size down? Like, it's extra work. Like, if I know I'm a women's size 6.5, I want to be able to go somewhere and say, okay, I'm a 6.5 in women's. I know that this is a women's 6.5. So, so that's what went into the design of the shoe. On top of just the fact that, like, I made a comment earlier talking about how women like to be feminine, but they're not precious. And I think that's where like the shrink it and pink it with like the pink boxing glove analogy is like symbolic of this idea, which is that like pink doesn't equate women. Like women are feminine, but they're equally tough. So for us as a brand, when we think about designing things like the shoe or like even like the headgear, right? It's like, how do we design it in such a way where it makes the woman feel proud to be feminine, but she's not precious? And I think that's
she's vicious.
She's vicious, but she also likes being girly.
Let me see the headgear again. That's awesome, man. Like
the other
Claudia, when I come down there, let's glove up, man. Let's do some pad work. Let's get that word.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Look at there. What, I
just messed up my thumb, but that's okay.
Yeah, we got to get that word. We got to get that word. No, that is super cool. And just seeing your shin guards and stuff like that, I can't wait to go back down there, and I'm gonna have a set of that. Lynn, make sure I get a set, because I'm going to go over there in the American Top Team, and if they see you a week just like this. So I'm going to say a word, and I want you to respond the first thing that comes to your mind, Lynn. Mm-hmm. First word I thought of is the impact on women's fitness. Mm-hmm. When I say the phrase women's fitness, what comes to your mind when you think of Not Society 9?
Not Society 9?
No, when you think of Society 9 and women's fitness, how do you merge and bridge that gap there? The
first word I think of is evolution.
Beautiful.
And I think 2 words, actually, evolution and metamorphosis.
Wow.
Because I think the modern woman, especially when she's really passionate about just who she is intrinsically, then exploration in anything, whether it's boxing, career, going on a hike, doing a triathlon or whatever, she knows no bounds. I think that's what's really exciting about what's happening with women right now in terms of a renaissance. I think women are experiencing a renaissance right now, because whether it's advocating for equal pay, advocating to have a seat at the table, advocating to say, no, I deserve choices, or advocating for access to space. So space in this case could be a boxing gym or whatever. I think women in particular are in a period of reclamation. Reclamation meaning I am claiming my space, wherever that space is. And, you know, we're really excited and humbled to just be a part of this time, no matter what happens, succeed or fail. Like, that's last year was a very reflective year, obviously, for many reasons. And, you know, there were many points where I had to just say to myself, succeed or fail. I'm just really grateful that we got to be a part of this renaissance, this period of revolution.
Claudia, this question is for you. The statement that you made about realizing that not what's not happening, but what has happened and what you are doing, has that settled into your mind? Do you have to remind yourself of that statement?
Every day. I have to remind myself of everything that I've been able to do, that I've pushed through, because it's very easy to fall in the, I should have done this, and why didn't that happen? And how come so-and-so is going on and so-and-so is going on? But I have to like say, wait, stop, and be kind to myself. And just picking off what was just mentioned. Yes, it's, I want to say we're coming of age. We're finally taking our place. I don't think this is the time to be coy in terms of asking for permission or being allowed to. No, it's being able to put, our elbows on the sides and say, excuse me, I'm here. And I'm fine. And I'm smart.
If you bring, you bring the fire, if you bring that fire, then it's undeniable. You have to do it for a period of time for people, because some people know that you'll fizz out. And that's what happens to some people that have the ability, but they don't have the consistency, because that's the only thing that threads successful people together. I was raised by a woman, and she was a superwoman. I would have loved for her to be teamed up with you guys, because she would have come the rest of the way out. But my sister did take the helms and created an organization, because that's in our DNA. And she took what my mom was doing to the next level. And I would have loved for her to be in a circle with aspiring, hungry, fiery women. She was very conservative, but she had a fire inside. She spoke in tongue. She was a prayer warrior, and all of that resides in me. I just also happen to have my dad's temper. But at the same time, I channel all of that into work. And you see how much work I do. You don't have to know me. I mean, we got guys that we have FaceTime calls, Zoom calls with, and they're coming to do marketing work or promotional work. And they're like, hey, They know me. And these are people across the globe. And that just comes from the work. So persistence, and you've already done the hardest thing that it is to do, which is ask for the money. And it ain't no other things. All right. So with that being said, Claudia, in the morning times, this is my only time that I feel like if I don't start the morning right, everything just, and it never fails. It all, so that morning time, now that you're down there in the bubble again, you know, you're down there and you got to go through those rituals. Just keep on your ritual with that 15 to 30 minutes and isolate your mind, because both of you women are paving the way. You're going to be like so talked about in history, because guys like me who have these platforms are going to utilize it to highlight people like yourselves, because y'all are game changers. So don't forget it. If you ever wake up, if you just rewind this section of this video, I don't just put crowns on people just to do it, because I'm from third generation, you know, depths. And 122 years ago, our people were enslaved in this country. But 122nd anniversary of us owning companies down in the Johnston County areas, my family ain't never gonna be one of those people with those stories. We are not victims. We make shit happen. Whatever cup of soup you give us, we add burger, we add steak, we add chops. We never are going to allow anybody to supersede their narrative on us. And when we celebrated that, it made me realize back when people were still enslaved, people are still enslaved, that my people were wearing suits and top hats and owning land and companies. And I kept the lineage going. And the same thing with you in many, many, many years. And it was a privilege for me to donate to the land as a contribution from me. The money I made with my company to my great-great-grandfather's land and business. Do you know how that feel like? That's what y'all will be doing. So shit is going to try to throw you off every day. Eat it. You know what I'm saying? Just keep eating it, because people try to hurt your feelings on purpose. And those people are really sent from God too. You just got to be able to identify negative energy. Don't get it confused with negativity. Right. Period. Yeah, because those same people will be bragging on your shit. They'll be wearing your shit at the gym. These gloves, Claudia, these gloves are the best gloves you'll ever get. I don't care if it's and I'll just say that I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, okay, some gloves, cool. We got them. Put them on. All my clients, male and female, they were like, yo, I need those. And then you get the orders, people were ordering. The guys didn't get them because they were for females, but they wanted them. I tried to convince Stacy to get Lynn to make just a line for us, but Lynn just gave me the blueprint and the blue light, the green light to just say a unisex. There you go. You can rock them. But
a right hand is a right hand and a left hand is a left hand.
Yeah, man. Simple. Yeah, and when Clarissa Shields and Amanda Nunez is rocking your shit, you don't have to question nobody else. You want more hate. Look, if you get 3 or 4 days, ain't nobody saying nothing negative, you got to step it up. Your haters are sent from God. You know what I'm saying? Use them.
Yeah, my grandpa used to tell me as a kid growing up, especially like dealing with like racist kids and not really understanding and getting my feelings hurt and stuff. My grandpa used to say to me like, you know, if you let that stuff get to you, it's cancer. So just remember that. And so he always taught me how to deflect that stuff at a really early age too, just because like these are people who saw the travesties of war and escaped it, you know? And so I always remind myself, So I always remind myself, like when stuff feels tough, I always think about the stories my mom would say about how when they escaped in the middle of the night from Vietnam and, you know, were on a boat and what they endured to just get here and to have me and to have my sister and to start life and, you know, the generational legacy that starts now through me and my sister, you know, and
I love a story.
Whatever happens with that, again, like succeed or fail, like I just feel like as entrepreneurs, like you only think about success at all costs, but you also, I don't think that we're trained to think about failure being success too, because no one wrote the chapter book to anyone's story.
No.
So just being able to do something.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that now it exists in the talking points of people's conversations, like,
yeah,
I can't really complain with that.
It's a powerful thing. A story, the story, that's it. And Claudia, that's what I want to hear. Like, I know when I was young, my mom told me stories. So when I remember when my mom, she left my dad when I was 7, right? When we moved to Raleigh, and she used to sit me down and tell stories about her brothers, her older brothers and stuff. And those stories, they are so in me, you know, and I'll be doing stuff. I'll be thinking about my uncles, and, you know, one of them got killed at 35 years old. And she was like, you remind me of, you know, his name was Bud. And she said, you remind me of my youngest brother, Bud. And I love, and my mom loved me, like, you know, or your dads love you. Like, you know, they love you different than everybody else, your brothers and sisters. They love, and everybody knew it. That's why they wanted to punch me in the face. But it was the story. So when I sit back, I hear you tell about stories. That's what makes the fiber, what we do, so unique, is because our stories are being told. And always remember, if you never do anything, be comfortable telling your story in a way that people realize that the story that you write is important. And I love hearing stories, and stories feed me. You know, it makes me remember that we're here for much more than a nice car, a nice home, you know, and just to look good and to have, you know, accolades. Stories are the written Bible of every human being. And if you don't tell them, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So thank you so much for saying that phrase, you know, that your parents told you stories. Those stories are so ingrained and ingrained deep in my soul. That's why people say, you know, golly, you know, this dude puts up videos and it's tens of thousands of people tune in. I said, because I tell stories. Mm-hmm. People like stories. They like to hear about the fiber and where you come from. And I never leave out the stories, and because they matter so much. So both of you always tell your story. You know, I know people always come to people like Claudia to learn and stuff, but sometimes you just got to tell them the stories. Mm-hmm. The stories make you realize what your value is. So with that being said, I got to pass it back to you. I have one more word, and the word is COVID. What comes to your mind when you hear COVID-19?
To me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Both of you. I mean.
Yeah, Claudia, go ahead.
COVID-19. What comes to mind? Growth. Okay.
Yes. I love
growth. I was challenged in many, many ways. Okay. Obviously, for most of us, financial.
Yeah.
Mental, emotional, but moreover, spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought the world could stay still.
Yeah.
Not even for a minute.
Yeah.
And it happened.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I really had to question my beliefs, my roots, my core. I'm not going to say that it happened from one day to the next, and I'm not going to say that I'm there 100% and that I'm like the closest thing to Zen or Buddhist, none of that.
No.
One thing I can say is that I finally realized how insignificant we can be.
Yeah.
And how the strength really comes in our community. Because if it weren't for, Miami is a very particular way. I think we function in a completely different way than the rest of America for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But we had riots. We had, you know, the Black Lives Matters movement, and it was right there in front of my house.
Yeah.
And despite everything, we had floods. We had, and the city itself didn't fall apart.
Yeah.
We stood together. And yes, we were a little bit bizarre about the mask wearing and the protocols, and we opened everything a little too early.
Yeah.
and our numbers were going crazy.
Yeah.
But somehow we flourished and we're still here.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's a powerful thing. Now, Lynn, I'm going to let it wind out and let you get done. I got three questions up here that I want you to respond to after the COVID, pretty much about your brand, because after this, I want to put some nice overlay after the production is done and have it just looking spot on and people to really understand your brand. So explain, what did COVID?
I think resilience. I want to piggyback off of Claudia's statement about growth. That would probably be my other word too. But another one would just be resilience, because when COVID first hit, I was really stressed out. Of course, I was scared. I was worried. I was literally like, "Well, that's a wrap on the business." Like, we had no clue where this was all gonna go. And I remember talking to my mom in like March or April, like so really early on when it was all happening, and I was worried about her. I was checking in on my grandparents. They're both 90. And one of the things she said to me was like, honey, I understand that you're like stressed out. It is scary, but you know what? There's a plan. Wear a mask, keep distance, wash your hands, and like, we're going to be okay. And she was like, it sucks that we can't see each other and all that kind of stuff. But she was like, when we escaped war, there was no plan. There was no plan. There was no vaccine. There's no vaccine for war. Yeah. And when she said that, I was like, damn, I can't fight that.
They always shrink everything you're going through. They make it so small.
Well, no, she said it in just like in a supportive way, where she was just like, it's gonna be okay. Cause she, she was saying it because she's a baddie, she's a badass. And she's just like, I've seen war is about the worst thing that you could see. And once you see that, everything else, there's a plan. And so when she told me that, I just really focused on keeping my head straight so that I could be good to the team, good to our customers, good to myself, quite frankly, good to my family. That's all I can do. Because everything else is destiny.
It appears that piggybacks off of the next thing, which is the Society 9 community. It looks like you're taking the fiber in which your mom instilled and putting it into the fiber of the community of the Society 9 posse, and I can't wait to put that up, because you guys got a beautiful team. Your fight within podcast. Yeah, explain that, and then we're gonna let you ride, because I know you got to get out of here, and I got to get that Canelo prediction with Claudia. She knows. Oh,
good. So I started the Society 9 podcast because I felt like it's not enough to just have a product. Like, the product is obviously very important. We're very proud of it. But I thought it was more important that we have these exact conversations. This idea around, what does it mean to have ownership of power in different instances, from, gender equity, racial equity, social equity. Those things are really important, because like, when we think about fitness, we think about sport, it is a privileged opportunity to be able to do any of this. Yeah. And I think a lot about, young kids and youth, or people who are just in socioeconomic challenging situations that would love to do this, but don't have the money for the tools or the access to go to a gym or just whatever. And I think it's really important to talk about that systemically as a community, because I think it goes so much further than the sport. It goes so much further beyond fitness. Wellness and access to wellness, access to power, access to strength. Those things are both intrinsic as well as systemic. So I look at Society 9 as, how can we as a brand contribute to something bigger than just consumerism? Consumerism is one piece, and serving a need is another. But the third piece of that is both representation and shedding light on how important it is. Access is the key and the start to everything, whether it's, the key to the next pro fighter, male or female, or the key to just being well, being able to move, having the products to move in. All those things are shrouded in privilege. So I think it's really important for us to have conversations about that, as well as the double standards around women in sports and in fitness, in the industry, in whatever regard. So that's why I started the podcast. So that we can have conversations.
You're moving that needle. You're moving the needle, and if you need any guests to pop on the show, Claudia would love to.
Yeah, we'd love to have you both.
Me and Haley. We'll definitely come over there and send some of that powerful energy. And the last question I'm gonna give you is, what is the core to core? The social, the Society 9 channel, core to core. Yeah. I like the way that's spelled. That's cool.
Heart to heart.
Yeah. So Core to Core is actually a partner of ours that they started as a fitness platform for instructors who were really struggling in the pandemic to actually monetize on their work. So a lot of these fitness instructors got furloughed or let go because gyms couldn't afford them, but they have these skills, and so they created a platform to essentially enable democratization of fitness instructors being able to teach from their home or wherever they want to anyone and anywhere. And so we started working with them to start doing event series and monthly classes, to give access to people who are just learning how to box for the first time. Maybe they've never thrown a punch. We have different brand ambassadors who teach kickboxing or boxing, but it's a way for us to say to people who have always wanted to try and learn, but didn't know the resources, and especially during COVID, didn't have access to go to a gym because every state has different closure challenges or whatever.
It's crazy.
It was a way that they could learn in the safety of their own home. So it's still a very new partnership. But these are the ways in which we get creative in thinking about how we create access. Because like I said, if there's a whole spectrum of people and, being a champion fighter on the one end, and then on the other end, it's people throwing a punch for the first time. You have to think about the progression of the individual and care about meeting everyone where they are. So whether you are Clarissa Fields or you are starting out for the very first time, you have no clue what's going on. Creating that sense of inclusion and welcomeness is really important to us.
Well, good. Well, that's one of the things that Claudia is always around, all those professional champions and stuff. And of course, I just left down there with Dustin Poirier and those guys, coach. And it's just, anytime you're around and doing it, you have to realize this. And this is where I come in. These trainers, whether they fought formally, I got fighters that I work with who went pro and had nice careers, but they don't know how to train. They don't know how to do the training. They know how to do the stuff, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to monetize, and vice versa. The trainers don't know how to build a brand. So that's kind of what we are doing. We have an entire conglomerate of guys. We've been doing it for like 7 years, teaching these guys how to utilize and be a service in the service industry of training and working with people, elite and not, and stuff. So I've written 20 books, 20, you know what I'm saying? And have this knowledge passed to those guys. Make sure that we connect with those individuals on that podcast or whatever, have them here. And because this is what needs to happen. I'm doing it globally. And because you got to be able to be reachable, and people got to know what you're really doing. And it takes knowledge to have an exclusive brand, and for your brand to continue to pierce other markets. So for that, thank you for building that community that way. And we will be able to do something with and collectively together. So my audience and my guests are yours. So
thank you. Feeling mutual. Yeah, absolutely.
We will definitely hook it up and get it on again. And Claudia, you can say your goodbyes. I'm going to let Lynn go. I know she got things to do. And
Claudia, it's such an honor to meet you. I hope to connect with you online. Stacy said she'll connect us. But
I hope so. And I don't wish you luck, because luck is a combination of preparation and perfect timing. So that's what I'm going to wish you.
Thank you. I would love to connect with you both. It was so great to connect with all of your stories and your journeys. If anything, I'm humbled to be here, because I feel like I said, I started this when I was 25, and I've somehow been able to just keep going, and it's all largely been heart driven. And I guess that formula works. So,
well, you did the hardest thing. You asked for the money. And you got the money to get things started, both Kickstarters. So we are behind you 1000%. And I can't wait to show the brand and all the stuff. I can't wait for you to see it. So make sure you lock in tomorrow, 5 p.m. You'll get an actual copy of the podcast, and you'll be able to kick back and just enjoy the fruits of your labor. Be blessed, Lynn. Haley, you can say bye.
Bye, Lynn. Keep up the good work.
Haley, thank you. Let's connect offline as well. I would love to have a conversation further.
Absolutely. You got it.
All right. We'll see y'all. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Now we welcome you to this section of the show that we created solely because there is a need to know what's hot now with the product and services that people are doing across the globe. We wanted to make sure that we had a segment that we highlight these companies. So this week's What's Hot Now, let's take a look at Society 9. Be sure to take a second to really look at this company. They're doing some amazing things across the board, from community to amazing product development. Let's check out Society 9. Society 9, what's hot now? Well, I get back to kicking some butt in foosball.
We designed every single product, from our tanks to our leggings to our gloves, our hand wraps even. We all design it ourselves from scratch. And then we ask feedback from customers in fit tests and wear tests so that we can actually make the designs even better as we design and develop them before it hits production. Our team is constantly pushing the boundaries of innovation and what else can we make better. And so whether it's a brand new apparel collection or a brand new training gear collection, we're so excited to see ourselves evolve from boxing gloves into something more. We don't believe in compromising function for fashion. Quality and beauty shouldn't be two separate things, and that's what we care so much about with our products, is that we want something that makes you feel good and look good, but also performs for you when you're in the ring or out of the ring.
Here, so behind